Brian, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, glad to be here.
All right, so we had Justin Gray from Channel 2 Action News come in a couple months ago, found unclaimed money for me, but these are unclaimed scholarships. What exactly are we talking about here?
Sure. So you talked about need-based aid just a second ago with MIT. Vanderbilt has a similar policy, so do a lot of schools for need-based aid. But merit aid is important for people that are in that messy middle, where they're ostensibly too rich for financial aid, but can't exactly stroke a check for this mid or high five-figure sum that some of these schools want. And so what we built is this website it's a free website, will always be free, called meritaidgrids.com, where we paid an intern this summer to help harvest data from hundreds of schools that just shows there's so many pages on these sites that on the X and Y axis, up and down, you have your GPA, and then across the top, you have standardized test scores. And rather than you apply and hope and pray and maybe you get aid, maybe you don't, it's a very transparent promise from the school saying, if you get this and this, we will give you this much money.
So it's school-centric. So
correct.
You check that in. Say Longoria's daughter wants to go to Kennesaw State.
Yes.
You can search Kennesaw State along this.
So we're lucky. So I'm from Missouri originally, and a lot of my friends who don't live in Missouri anymore is because there was no beautiful stuff like the Hope Scholarship here in Georgia. Yes. So the Hope Scholarship in Georgia, Louisiana has TOPS, Bright Futures down in Florida. The Southeast has more generous state-level programs than a lot of states. So the Merit Aid website does not have a ton of data for Georgia schools because we have this largesse from the Hope Scholarship and the Zell Miller Scholarship. But it has hundreds of schools, public and private. More public schools do this than private schools, but it's obviously Harvard is not one of the schools that needs to get out Merit Aid and the Merit Aid grids, but it's not podunk schools either. There's state flagships. There's Auburn, there's Alabama, there's Wyoming, there's Utah, there's Michigan State,
and especially if you're going, if you are in Georgia, your kids are in Georgia, and you're going out of state tuition at some of the schools you mentioned is higher than in-state, so you want to be able to chip away at the final tally you're going to be paying these schools.
Right. So you're a journalist. My sister actually went to the Mizzou School of Journalism, which is a great school of journalism. Yeah. And we have a lot of kids we see locally. My wife and I run Edison Prep. It's a local test prep and tutoring company, and we paid for all of college via these tests ourselves. So I like to joke that I'm in my old age where I have gray hair in my beard now, time to start giving back. And I'm a nerd, and I paid for all of college. I grew up broke. I paid for all of college, so did my wife, via these tests. I quit junior varsity tennis. The coach was not too sad. I was junior varsity, and just simply built this. I applied to a ton of schools. I knew I would get in, but it was totally random. Some schools gave me nothing, and my alma mater gave me everything. That's why I ended up going there.
Same.
But the thing is, there are so many kids. The Grady School of Journalism at UGA is amazing, but UGA is pretty hard to get into. Actually, today at 4 p.m., all the kids find out whether they got in or not.
Ooh, good luck.
Right before I walked into the studio, I published something on the Edison Prep Facebook page, all the stats analyzed and the kids that got in today when that drops, so fingers crossed. But what if a kid can't get in? They don't have the stats to get into UGA, but want the journalism school. One of the best Merit Aid grids that exist on the entire Merit Aid Grids website is Mizzou. So Mizzou has this beautiful thing where the grid is really pretty. I gave it to the producer. You can put it on the website if you want. And so with as low as a top 37% score, you can get $34,000, no questions asked.
What?
Yes.
From Missouri.
Of after-tax money, that's a lot of mortgage payments, and that's with a top 37% score. Same GPA, but someone gets a top 12% score, they can get up to $84,000, no questions asked.
Are you writing this down, Longoria?
I am.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
Meritaidgrids.com. I was about to ask, so, back in my day, I got these little mini scholarships, like the Elks Club gave me $250 or, I got these little things and then I got money to play baseball.
Right.
I lost that money when my grades fell down.
Right.
I was about to ask you, what is the average amount of these scholarships or merit-based aid that the kids can get?
It ranges from everything from a couple $1,000s to full rides. So Jerry Rice is famously went to Mississippi Valley State.
Yes.
They're the most liberal granting school in the world in terms of 3.0 GPA and a 24 ACT is full room board tuition. They officially hold the record on the website. I mean, that's not too high of a standard, but bam.
That was high for me.
Yeah, we have kids who that can't be real, and they have no money and they want to be able to graduate debt free. So that's good for them. To your point though, outside scholarships like the Rotary Club or the Chamber of Commerce, the onesies, twosies are not going to move the needle that much. They're worth applying to if your kid has free time.
Yeah.
But 99% of the money that's ever going to come is going to come via Kohl's cash discount straight from the college themselves. It's easier for them to do a sticker price reduction right off the top.
This is fascinating, and this is exciting for all the parents and grandparents out there that are facing these huge higher education bills. Where in the process do the students, the parents, need to go to your website? Let's say I'm interested in going to the Missouri Journalism School. Mm-hmm. Do I have to apply to them first, or to go to your website first?
Parents, as early as they want. It shifts. The data will shift as time goes on. This is a living, breathing website. We've had 12 people actually submit new entries for our database, ones that we missed and during our exhaustive search. So it's going to keep getting better over time, the website. People are paying it forward. As far as when to look at it, no need to look at it until when you start building your college list. But one thing that's important is, as much as it would be good, my wife and I do standardized test prep for SAT and ACT, as good as it would be for me if all that mattered is good ACT and SAT scores, parents staying on their kid from day one of ninth grade is the number one, number two, and number three most important thing. We live in a world, compared to when you and I were in high school, like C's were a thing in the 90s. C's are no longer a thing. And so keeping the C's away is really important. Because the GPA, you can't go back and fix.
Correct.
Your bad grades from freshman year, whereas the College Board, as long as your credit card clears, my wife and I still take the SAT each year. Kids get a kick out of it, but they don't care. You can take the test as many times as you want and submit your best scores.
The GPA is
correct. So parents, day one of ninth grade needs to be the number one thing. Keep on that GPA.
All right, so again, just for clarification purposes, the parents and kids should look at the website before they apply to schools, and maybe that could guide them.
It could help them build their
list.
Because
the applications aren't free, right? You still have to pay for them.
Well, there are a lot of waivers, and you could do an entire other segment on like how, if you're clever, you can find admission waivers for a lot of schools. But yeah, so as you're building your college list, and this is kind of nuanced, but what if someone looks up a school that they're really interested in and finds the merit aid grid and realizes, even if I get the top level merit aid that this one school publishes, the math is not mathing, and my family can't afford that. Well, then great. They don't have to waste time applying to it. But they might look at one that they thought was inaccessible and just wildly too expensive and be like, oh, wow, I almost have these numbers. My favorite story, a CPA who works in our office complex, he's not from this country originally, one of the colleges overseas that pays for things, college is covered. And so he physically cannot afford full price Auburn, but his kid wanted to go to Auburn. And so his kid, he made him quit his job. He already had the GPA, but his test score is not there. He made him quit his job at Firehouse Subs right next to our office. And he paid him money to come to his office. And Dad said, you will give me your cell phone, because I'm not dumb, and I will pay you $10 an hour, the same $10 an hour that Firehouse pays you to do the ACT. Because in his case, he was ACT, but in his case, going from a 28.25 to a 33 was an extra $68,000, and so it was literally about it was over $2,000 per question.
Does this work for graduate degrees as well? I might go back to school.
Yeah, graduate's harder, although high GMAT scores and things can help. But yes, the website is undergraduate focused. But yes, so that kid is such a great story because the kid thought he won. No, the dad won. The dad paid him $600 or $800, and the dad went and saved. He's the one that saved 95+% of it. So yeah,
that's remarkable.
Again, doesn't work for Harvard, but it works for good schools.
You're doing God's work here, Brian. This is insane. This is great.
Well, it's important because I'm not that old. I graduated this millennium. My alma mater is officially 268% more expensive than when I went there. So it was worth studying, getting good grades, getting good test scores when I was in high school. It's 10 times more important now, just because things are hard.
Can you hang out one more second? I got some follow-up questions, because this could be a game changer for a lot of families listening right now. Meritaidgrids.com is the website. Write it down, bookmark it, voice note it, tell Siri, whatever you got to do. Meritaidgrids.com. I've got some follow-ups for Brian. I'll bring him back when we come back after news, weather, and traffic, and we'll update our top local stories. So much more to come on the Mark Arum Show. But joining us in studio, saving you possibly six figures for students looking to go to higher education, Brian Eufinger from Edison Prep. The website, I tweeted out a link to it, Merit Aid Grids, not grads. You'll eventually grad, hopefully, .com. All right, so a couple of quick questions. ACT, is that the prevalent test here in Georgia? ACT, not SAT?
It's the more common one in Atlanta, but it's like Visa, MasterCard. Every college in America takes both, whichever one you're better at.
What I've been told, and maybe this is people just lying to me, that the SAT scores are higher now than we took them back in the day. They've changed the scoring on them. Is it a different kind of test? It's
not a fair comparison because the SAT's been revised a couple times since you and I were in high school. But Actually, it's the opposite. So if you let this, the ACT is more static, has not changed much.
Yeah.
And since Nixon was in office, the ACT average has never dropped below 20 until 4 years ago, and it keeps getting even lower each year. So COVID learning loss is real. All the cyber shenanigans in school.
All right,
and
so
that stuff.
I got in 1990. I was one and done with the SATs. I got a 1230. My mom's like, take it again. I was like, no, that was too much. 1230 is fine. What does that translate to SAT or ACT scores now?
Depends when in the 90s. They recenter the curve. Okay, then in that case, you can mostly add about 100 points. So call it a 1330.
Hell
so
yeah.
That'd be a top 9%-ish score today. So it'd be pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. The GPA wasn't there, but
Yes.
but at least I would have had the good scores. All right, give me a success story. Again, the website, meritaidgrids.com. How long has it been up? And any ballpark idea of how much money you've gotten for students and parents from the website?
Sure. So the website just launched last month. I mean,
Okay.
we've been informally giving this kind of advice just to our
Awesome.
clients, for
Yeah.
Edison Prep clients, but why not make it available for free publicly to everybody? Because it's the right thing to do, and because student loans are the devil. And so basically, there's one kid, my favorite kid. He's like the kind of kid who shook my hand and said, "Thank you, sir." Like, stop calling me sir. Yes, sir. Sir. I mean, yes.
Yeah.
And so he quit his job at Chick-fil-A. Like, there's a lot of common themes here: quit job, quit sport.
Yes.
And he repurposed his 10 hours of Chick-fil-A and just worked on it because he was the first of 6 kids in his family. And mom said, "You can live at home and go to Kennesaw, or you can." This is the best line. She said, we can afford to pay for Alabama if you get the 30. If you get a 30 for Alabama, you get $112,000 via merit aid. And so the mom, this is her joke, not mine. She goes, "Mom said you can either live at home and go to Kennesaw, or you can get that 30 and roll Tide or roll Kennesaw. Don't care, your choice." And so that's a great line, roll Kennesaw. So, but it's real money. I mean, he only needed to fix 30 or 40 questions out of the 215 to get 112,000. I mean, literally each question was worth a mortgage payment or two.
And the website's so easy. So there's a map there. I can click on the state of Georgia, and it shows the aid available: Emory, Georgia Tech, Georgia Southern, Georgia State, Kennesaw, UGA, Connecticut, my home state. I could have, if this was around. The web wasn't even around back then, but Central Connecticut, where I went for a semester, Post University, Quinnipiac, UConn, Hartford. This is amazing.
And one really important note for your listeners. So it's based on UJ Hope lottery math, or Hope Scholarship lottery math. They dropped the requirement for the Zell Miller Scholarship from a 26, but it's always been, to a 25. So for families who have a senior who think they're operating on old Intel, it was a 26, it's dipped to a 25. So that makes the awesome 100% tuition Zell Miller even more accessible in this awesome state with the Hope Scholarship.
Unbelievable. Brian Ufinger, Edison Prep, the website, meritaidgrids.com. Man, you are truly doing the Lord's work, saving families so much money. That money's out there. Go grab it. Thanks for coming in, Brian.
Happy to help.
Let's go up to the